Some of you are surely going to think that I have flipped my lid. Is Jeff really talking about something he's calling the humility hoax? Yes, Jeff is. Folks, I think that the whole idea of humility that has been told to us and sold to us through Christianity may in fact be a hoax. It may in fact be a plan to continue and further our enslavement, and even more so, it might be a plan to get us to willingly submit to our enslavement and even to pat ourselves on the back for our enslavement, ladies and gentlemen. And the light's a little bright, but I don't want to stand up and turn it off. So we'll just have to deal with a little bit of the reflective forehead. Does it look stylish? But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think that this whole idea of humility as perpetuated in the New Testament and the Old Testament, as perpetuated and as presented in the Bible, it's a hoax. And the first thing that made me think about it was, I remembered, I don't know why I started thinking about this, but the thought that came to my mind was in the book of Numbers, chapter 12, it says, "Now Moses was the most humble man on the entire earth." But the problem with that is that Moses wrote that scripture. Moses wrote Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy. And don't you think it's a little bit strange if a guy who's supposed to be the most humble man on the face of the earth would actually write that he's the most humble man on the face of the earth? Now, Moses was a very humble man, more so than any man on the face of the earth. He was so humble that he wanted to perpetuate his humility for posterity, for all eternity. Moses was the most humble guy on the face of the earth, according to Moses. If you didn't believe Moses was the most humble guy, all you had to do was ask Moses, and Moses would tell you. In fact, I didn't even ask him. And here he is telling me. Now, I don't know, guys. I don't know, ladies. I don't know, folks, but if somebody writes in a book that they're the most humble man on the face of the earth, I don't know if it's just me. I don't know if it's just the cynic in me, but I've got to question that, ladies and gentlemen. If some guy says to me, I'm the most humble person in the world, I'm the most humble person on the face of the earth, I'm going to be saying, right, okay, nice to meet you. The most humble man on the face of the earth. So obviously, the implication of this verse is to get us to want to be like Moses. Oh, Moses was a great man. He parted the Red Sea and he brought all those people across the desert, and he did the thing with the staff and the snakes and did those, hail things and, frogs and bloody Nile and all that stuff. So, I mean, this guy was obviously like phenomenal, right? And he was so humble. So yeah, we should be humble. And, the whole thing about Christianity is humble. Well, what do they mean when they say humble, ladies and gentlemen? What do they mean by this word humble? Because you all want to be humble, right? You all are trying to be humble, right? And some people say it's not really that surprising that Jeff is speaking out against humility. And I'll take that. That's kind of funny. But Moses says he was more humble than anybody. And you all want to be humble, and you pat yourself on the back for being humble. And humble is the most important that we just want humility. We just want to be humble. Well, what does humble mean? And tell me if you really want this. In the Old Testament, humble means it's anah. Anah. It means to be defiled. Would you like to be defiled? Would you like to be put down or become low? Would you like to be depressed? Would you like to be downcast? Would you like to be afflicted? Would you like to be mishandled? Would you like to be put in imprisonment and bonds? Would you like to be afflicted? Would you like to be humbled? Would you like to be weakened? Would you, and I didn't say weekend, I said weekend. Would you like to be poor? Would you like to be afflicted? Would you like to be one of the afflicted ones? Would you like to be one of the afflicted ones? Would you like to be poor? Is that what you would like to be? Poor, needy, oppressed by the rich and powerful. Would you like to be into that? Would you like to be that? And I can guarantee you, Prince of Egypt, leader of Israel, he was a lot of things, but he wasn't humble, ladies and gentlemen. So if he wasn't humble, and he's supposed to be the most humble person on the face of the earth, something is foul in the state of Denmark. And for those of you that don't know the Shakespearean writ very well, I smell a rat. The most humble guy, super rich, super powerful, super in charge. He wasn't really humble, but yet he said he was the most humble guy on the face of the earth. That makes me sit up and take notice, because they want us all to be humble, but humble means to be afflicted. Humble means to be cast down. Well, Jeff, that's just the Old Testament. You're pulling things out of context. Okay. Well, what do you say we go to the New Testament then? How about that? We'll go to the New Testament. And don't you think it's interesting, in the Old Testament, it's tied to the Lord? Humble yourselves. The Lord was humble. Oh, I was thinking of humble yourself in the eyes of the Lord. That's a song. It's also in the Psalms, I think. But Moses was more humble than everybody else. And then we go over here to James chapter 4. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. Oh, here's the song. Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord. Yeah, that's a song that you sing in church, and it comes from this verse. So they're saying humble yourself. You know what humble meant in the Old Testament. But Jeff, we want to be humble. Humility is important. Is it? Is being downcast important? Is being abused important? Is being made low important? Well, Jeff, that's just Old Testament. You can't pull things out of context. You got to put it in context. Okay, well, let's look at what humble means in the New Testament. To humiliate, to make or bring low, to humiliate, to make low, to make low, to humiliate, to reduce to a plain and passive state. To reduce to a plain and passive state of one who submits, of one who stoops to the condition of a servant, to one who thinks they're unworthy. Make yourself unworthy in the presence of the Lord. Make yourself of no account in the presence of the Lord. Give up your hope, your dreams, your ambitions. Give up yourself in the presence of the Lord. I'm not making it up, ladies and gentlemen. Humiliate yourself before the Lord. Become fully dependent on the Lord. Become low before the Lord. Become plain and passive before the Lord. Become submit to the Lord. Stoop to the condition of a servant before the Lord. Become little and unworthy before the Lord. Do you see why I'm calling this the humility hoax? This is just another brick in the fear and guilt control matrix, ladies and gentlemen. All in all, said those great American prophets, Pink Floyd, it's just another brick in the wall. And we don't need no education. If this is the kind of education you're going to bring to us, hey, teacher, leave us kids alone. Because all in all, this teaching of humility, it's just another brick in the wall. All in all, this teaching of humility is just another brick in the original sin wall. All in all, This humility is just another brick in the unworthy wall. All in all, this humility is just another brick in the you're no good wall. All in all, humility is just another brick in the wall that's built around you and keeps you hemmed in to the fear and guilt control matrix. I didn't make up what the word humble meant in the Old Testament, and I didn't make up what the word humble means in the New Testament. And I'll tell you this right now: love me, hate me, unsubscribe, subscribe, send me happy news mail, send me hate mail. I will never humble myself before the Lord. I am not going to debase myself. I'm not going to consider myself worthless. I am not going to consider myself unworthy. I am divine, I am sovereign, I am free. And I am not going to check my mind at the door, and I am not going to be the Lord's bitch. Did I say that out loud, or did I just think it in my head? Ladies and gentlemen, this humility hoax must end tonight on Friday night, 8:04 on, I believe, the 5th of October, 2018. You've seen what it means in the Old Testament. You've seen what it means in the New Testament. All they're trying to do is to get you to willingly lay down your weapons, to willingly lay down your divinity, to willingly lay down your sovereignty, to willingly lay down your freedom. All they're wanting you to do is willingly submit to be their slave, willingly submit to be their battery, willingly submit to be their sheep. Do what you're told, where you're told, when you're told, how you're told, and as often as you're told. When they say jump, you say how high. That's what they want, ladies and gentlemen. Humility is a hoax. We are not to be people of biblical humility. We're not. We're to be divine. We're to be sovereign. We're to be free. We're to be living a life that is more abundant. That's what the Master said. We're to be following the way, the truth, the life. We're to love ourselves and love our neighbors as ourselves. This biblical concept of humility is a hoax, ladies and gentlemen. And I hope you've seen that. And I hope that you will check yourself before you wreck yourself. I hope that you will ponder this and say and see that it is a travesty, it's a sham, and it's a mockery. It's a Travis shamockery, ladies and gentlemen. And I'm not going to take it anymore. All in all, I'm knocking another brick out of the wall. Now, if I knock a brick out and you knock a brick out and she knocks a brick out and he knocks a brick out and they knock a brick out, all of a sudden that whole wall comes tumbling down. And when the wall comes down, the captives go free. We're in the wall. We're in the brick busting business, cousin. And I promise you, that business is a booming. I'm Jeffrey Daugherty. This is New Cosmic Knowledge. I salute you for being here seeking after truth. I'll give you half a namaste because I'm holding my trackpad in the other hand. But the divinity in me does recognize the divinity in you. Ask questions, question answers, unindoctrinate yourself. Create yourself, build a life you'll love. And ladies and gentlemen, it is an inside job. We're the last generation of real humans. We are not humble. We're divine. We're sovereign. We're free. And we are about to get busy, cousins.